And away we go. It is the BCJ Podcast, live from the Cincy Light Studios, right here on BearcatJournal.com. Presented, as always, by the Holy Grail. You know the deal. You're headed downtown. You're going to be at the banks, near the banks, anywhere in the vicinity, going to a Bengals game or maybe seeing a show, whatever it is. Stop by, see our friends at the Holy Grail. They will get you taken care of. And remember, every time you buy a Cincy Light at the Holy Grail, they will donate an additional 50 cents for every Cincy Light sold back into the Cincy Reigns NIL collective. All right, let's get this show on the road. You may notice new signage. Cincy Light jersey. It is official. Bearcat Journal has partnered with Cincy Light. They are now the official partner of BCJ. You'll see them in articles. You'll see them here on everything that we do on Bearcat Journal, be it the BCJ Pod, the BBP, George in the Jungle, the Bearcat Brunch, the Nightcap, you name it. If we do it, Cincy Light is going to be a part, and that's to reach out to all of you all across, not just Cincinnati, but the great state of Ohio and anywhere else that Cincy Light is being sold to remind you, go out, pick up some Cincy Light, support Cincy Reigns, and donate back in to the Cincy Reigns Collective NIL Fund to support student athletes at the University of Cincinnati. John, how'd I do? Is that good?
That was perfect. The perfect combination, right? I mean, peanut butter and jelly. It always was meant to be. And the sign is one thing, but the jersey is spectacular.
We're giving one of these away. Stay tuned on my Twitter feed. I will have something up soon on how you can get this sweet Ryan Guy Cincy Light jersey as well.
That's going to be a hot commodity right there.
All right, let's get this show on the road. Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Do we have to get you some Cincy Light stuff?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want me to talk about it on the brunch, I need some product placement. I need, yeah, absolutely.
Oh boy! All right, well, let's get this show on the road. Surprise appearance tonight. This one kind of came together last minute. John Cunningham joins us live on the show. Cincy, creating a new division today. Cincy Sports Partners, where they are bringing sponsorship and multimedia rights in-house effective July 21st. And I wanted to have John on to give him a chance to explain this to the fan base and kind of let people know, what this is, why it is important, what it means for the university and the athletics programs going forward. And then, we'll talk a little football, a little basketball, a little bit of this and that when we're done. But John, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it, as always.
Everything okay at the house? Everything good?
Hopefully. As you know, there's always something going on. A little bit of brotherly fighting right before we got on the call. You got to experience some of that, but that's kind of a nightly occurrence.
My daughter is at volleyball tonight, so my dogs are going to bark.
There you go.
For 2 hours. Yep. I understand completely. So I can mute myself. Let's get this first question underway, John. Cincy Sports Partners, just give people kind of an overview of what this is, why it's happening, and kind of what the strategic positioning is.
Yeah, it's a little bit of inside baseball in terms of, it probably is bigger news in the industry of college athletics as opposed to actual University of Cincinnati sports fans. But, I think it is important to talk just a little bit about it. For a long time, college athletics departments have outsourced the sale of all of their sponsorship and advertising. And they've done this with multiple different partners over the years. You've heard of IMG and Learfield and Playfly and others that exist in the space. You might have heard those terms, or ISP, used to be called ISP. But over the years, it's always been a deal where you get a payment, a check, you hand over your rights, they sell the rights, and then maybe you get some sort of a bonus if you sell so much. But you're giving up 40% to 45% to an outside third-party company. The pros have always done it differently. The pro model is that you own your own assets, you own your own sponsorship, your signage in your stadiums, your advertising on radio, your digital advertising, television advertising. You own all of that, and then you sell it yourself, and then you get obviously a larger percentage of the revenue coming back. So what we decided to do, we went to an RFP process, listened to different proposals from different companies, but we decided to bring it in-house. We're the fourth school to really do that here. It's Clemson sort of led the way, and it's done really well. Arizona has done it recently, and Rutgers has done it recently. And so we kind of jump into that leading edge of where I think college sports might go potentially. So that's what we're doing. I want to mention we've got great people in our department that work for Learfield. John Mason, to name one, just tremendous people that are great salespeople, and so there'll be opportunities, and it doesn't necessarily change structure as much as it just changes the way that we do things in terms of bringing things in house as opposed to a third party. But it's going to be exciting. It's a bold move in our industry, I think, but for all the right reasons. We think if we control our rights, we'll have a better opportunity to raise more money and to get our student athletes more involved in the community with NIL in this new changing landscape. I think it's going to be really important to have that flexibility.
When you have a relationship that's this long with Learfield, how difficult is this decision? Is it a matter of bottom line, like, this is kind of where we see things heading, and trying to stay ahead of that curve? Because I know as this landscape changes so rapidly, it's important to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of where it's going next and being actionary instead of reactionary.
That's really what it was about. Obviously there was a bottom line involved. A lot of work was done by Anthony DeFino and John Daniel. Specifically, Anthony DeFino oversees our external. John Daniel is our CFO. To really crunch the numbers and analyze it in a lot of different ways. We had someone come in as an advisor as well to help us look at it. So the numbers were certainly part of it, but I think more importantly for us was just, like I said, the flexibility, the ability to own all your assets and then be able to really customize it to your partners and your sponsors, and to do some really neat things with the university. To open up some new categories that maybe we haven't been able to open up before, when we knew that we weren't going to really benefit from those efforts to open up categories. So there's things like that. There's the naming rights of different areas within our athletics department. We think about the entryways to Fifth Third are not named. The Athletes Village itself is not named. We have a baseball stadium right now that's not named. So there's just some things coming up where we feel like we can structure some proposals that will really fit what our sponsors are looking for and profit off of that too. So just a lot that goes into it. And I just think owning those assets like the Bengals do, and like a lot of the pro sports teams do, will be important to us.
David,
do you foresee, you mentioned John Mason, and I've known John for pretty much my entire life. My aunt used to be in the athletic department at UC, and he worked with her as well. So I know him very well. Do you guys foresee, will those staff members become yours? I don't know how the dynamic works, but are you going to be out canvassing for additions to this department? Is it people that are already in-house? Like, how does the structure of it work? And then kind of like, obviously the bottom line of it is most important. But like bringing it in-house, from a straight like sales standpoint, what do you find are the benefits, or what are the areas you guys feel like you can go even further by bringing it all in-house versus a continued relationship with a third party?
Yeah, the good thing is we have some time. So our Learfield contract runs till July. So we have a little bit of time to structure this. And again, we'll rely heavily on our third-party consultant to help us build it out. There's a lot that will go into it. There's some legal work that we'll need to do. There's, contract work. There's, HR things that we have to make sure that we can get right. So we'll continue to look at that and build out, a really dynamic team. So that's the goal. But the good thing is we have some time. And like I said, John Mason and his team, his staff, have been phenomenal and really work well with our department. So, as things open up, we'll certainly look their way. So that's one aspect. And then, you asked the question of what are some other things we can do. I immediately started thinking about some of the campus relationships that we have that I think we can expand on. I mentioned different categories. I think there's some things that we can go to campus on and make a pitch for that we haven't been able to do. And it's easier to do that when you're making a pitch and saying that dollar for dollar, it comes back to us, right? And as opposed to when you get a guarantee, sometimes it always doesn't make sense to fight the battle to open up a category because frankly, you've already gotten your guarantee check and there's just not financial incentive to really push hard in certain areas. So I just think when you go it alone, there's no one to blame but yourself. And I just feel like we're going to look at it and just really be more aggressive in some areas because it's ours. And every dollar we make is going to be a dollar that goes into the pot. And so that's going to be important for us to continue to grow it. And I'm just excited about what's out there. You asked, how we're going to be able to structure it. I think there's all kinds of possibilities that we probably haven't even thought of yet. But we're certainly starting to build out some of those ideas.
And just to be clear, it's not like there was a falling out with Learfield or anything happened. It's just a matter of, like I said, the landscape is shifting.
Yeah, purely a business decision. And I'm close with a lot of people at Learfield. They're a dynamic corporation in our industry, and they actually will continue. And I should have made this point probably at the very beginning. They'll continue to help us. We'll have national sales, and I'll use a Brett Yormarkism. We're going to be open for business on our national sales, and so Learfield's already talked to us about helping us out in that area. And so as they sell into our inventory, then they'll get a commission-based sale off that, and we'll use others. I think there's Van Wagner and others out there that I think can really help us on the national level and sell. So that's the beauty of it, is that now it's all about what you can bring to the table, and we're not looking at sitting on a dollar amount and staying stagnant. We're going to keep growing, and I think that's why we did this. We see growth, and when there's revenue growth out there, we're going to take the chance and go after it.
Dave, anything else?
Yeah, just curious, like, because being one of only 4 universities, athletic departments that have kind of gone down this road, what were I don't want to assume, but you have conversations with some of the others that have already gone down this road, and kind of, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, what did they tell you was good and bad about it, but just kind of how is that dynamic? And do you have other people, maybe specifically Big 12 programs already? I know it's probably very fresh, but I'm sure word travels, and this isn't something that just happened overnight. But how do you see this moving forward? Is this going to be a thing that in 5 years, pretty much everyone will have it in-house? In 1 or 2 years? I mean, what kind of growth do you see is out there, or change, I should say, just on the national landscape for something like this?
Yeah, I was asked that today in an interview I did, and I just don't know. I don't want to speculate on what others are going to do. The one thing is, a lot of schools have multi-year deals that stretch out 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And so these don't come around that often to where you can really do a full evaluation. And that's one of the advantages that we had going into this, is that we had eyed this, 2 years ago, really, and started to have some conversations with Learfield way back then. And just kind of thought, well, let's just, as we went along, it was just like, let's go to market. Let's really do a full analysis and see what's out there. So, I don't know what everybody else is going to do. I think there's a lot of advantages to doing this. Certainly, I hope by we lead the way and perform really well. And they're calling me and calling our guys and asking us how we did it well. I certainly, Clemson has been one that has done it well, and we have reached out and had conversations with them through multiple different people about how they've done it. Rutgers, same thing. We have a contact at Rutgers and kind of know a lot about their startup. It's not easy. I mean, that's what it's like, a startup business. You got to really put some things into place. But just like anything else, it's kind of that flywheel. Once you get it going, it can really take off, and there's just the advantages start to become more and more clear.
Dave was wondering if he could put a resume in, but he said he didn't think you could afford him.
Open for business. I said open for business. Commission based.
That's what I told him.
You bring the sales to me, and then we'll have a conversation.
Let's expand a little bit while we've got you for another couple minutes.
I know
Football,
a few people.
Yeah, Dave's got a couple contacts. We'll see. Let's expand to this football season so far, and a much more positive experience in the second go round in the Big 12. How much different has this felt not being the new guy? Like, having a year of experience and kind of knowing what is coming at you each week.
I think it's been really helpful, having one year in. And I think it's just helpful having 1 year in with Coach Satterfield and his staff. We obviously, you've probably talked about it, but there was a lot of work done to make sure that the right kids were in the locker room. And I've been around a lot of football programs, and I said this the other day, I don't know if I've ever seen one that has better leadership from the top in terms of the student athletes that really are driving this thing with Corleone and Kandra. You can name a bunch, Dingle, just keep going. Corey Kiner. I mean, those guys have just been incredible leaders for us. And I like the feel of the team going into the year. I still like the feel of the team. They seem unflappable, win or lose. They come back and work hard the next week. And that's what you need in this league, because every week's a dogfight. I know Coach Sad has said that, but it's true. And so we got 4 dogfights left, and we're going to have to play well, and every one of them is going to be tough. And, I'm excited to see how we finish this thing off.
David?
I want to ask about the Indoor Performance Center and just where do things sit with that? Are you still on schedule? What phase in the build out are you guys on, and just kind of your overall impressions of how the process has been going?
I think it's gone really well. That's what they tell me. So if it's not, they're holding it back from me. But JD, John Daniel, is in charge of it on our side, and just trust him implicitly in how he manages those things. And he's been the one. If you've watched, he does those tours on YouTube and Twitter. So he'll continue to do those. We're starting to do some tours for different smaller groups to get them in the building. JD actually took the football staff today over there. A lot of them hadn't seen it in months. And so that was kind of a cool opportunity for him to take them through it and show them what's going on. But I think everything is on schedule from my standpoint. That's all I hear. So, summer open. It's really starting to take shape inside. We've seen the outside of it now for a while, but what's cool is to start to see the windows go up inside and the walls go up inside, and you really get a feel of what this is going to feel like and be like. So it's going to be fun, and we'll start doing more tours for people too.
Did you sneak yourself an office in there?
I didn't. No.
No,
We're going to use it for all things football. But I have told my staff, and I do worry about this, because we're the uniqueness of Cincinnati athletics is that we're all in one building, and I don't want, it's a few hundred yards away, but I don't want it to feel like a few miles away, and so we're gonna have to get staff over there and spending time over there. I'm gonna have to get over there and just make sure that we're having a presence. The good thing is the nutrition center's there, so I think a lot of our staff will eat there, 3-4 times a week in the nutrition center with the student athletes. So I think that will be great. And then the other thing we did is we kept all the academics in Lindner. So our football student athletes have to get over to Lindner every morning to do their academics, and so that became a tether back to the Lindner building for football. So that was important to us.
I looked at pricing, and I think there was a janitor's closet on the first floor that was like $5,000 to put your name on it. So if I go ahead and do that, you can use that when you go over there
as my little office. I like
your
it.
Personal space, right?
The Chad Brindle closet. I think it works.
I mean, yeah. I hear you're fired up. You're ready. You're ready for Monday night. Ready for Wes and Katrina to get things started.
I think we all are. I mean, that little taste that we got with the Ohio State matchup. It was kind of odd to play this basketball game in the middle of October, to be honest with you. But halfway through the game, it felt right. It felt like we were ready to go, and then we had to wait 2 more weeks before we got another one. So I think our fan base is ready. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be, we've got so much talent coming back, and then adding a few pieces that people haven't seen a lot of. I think, my take on this, without talking to anybody else, I just don't think we're going to see many teams that are more athletic than we are, which is neat and going to create a lot of excitement. But I also think that the skill level in terms of our shooting is going to really improve, and we'll be able to really stretch the court with some of our shooters. And I don't know if we've been able to do that at a really high level the last couple of years. So, it feels like we're set up, ready to roll. And, I'm really excited about what that brings. And then, I talking about men's, obviously, in the Ohio State game, but women's basketball as well had a little showcase. They're better. Have added some really key pieces, added a Texas Tech transfer at guard, which Katrina is really excited about. She brings a lot to the table. And so, with Jillian Hayes coming back and some other pieces, we should be really competitive on the women's side and get after the Big 12 there too.
What did you think about the charity exhibition? And I know there's been some talk that they might start allowing Division I opponents to play exhibition games in front of fans. It got tabled last year, but I believe it is still something that's being considered. What were your thoughts on having a game like that in October that, while it didn't count, was certainly a game that it felt like the UC fan base embraced?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, it did exactly what I was hoping it would do. It just wet the whistle of our fan base to just, you want to see the new pieces, all work together, and you get a chance to do that in one of those early games, and to structure it the way we did around a really special weekend in homecoming. I mean, it just worked out. And then obviously the Ohio State opponent. That's the other thing, is you can really, some of these matchups are hard to get in a regular season or a preseason type thing before a conference play. But, in an exhibition game, you can go grab a Purdue or Ohio State or something like that. And a lot of times that works out pretty well. So anytime you can do that for our fans, you'd love to do it. And then the other neat thing is, we get a chance to get a lot of people that don't get lower bowl seating opportunities or courtside seating or club seating to get a chance to buy reasonably priced tickets to come watch the Bearcats. So I thought it was great. I was into it. I think our fans were into it.
Dave, you got anything else?
I'm good, man.
Kelsey wanted me to tell you thank you. She shot the Ohio State game. No lie, John. She came home. We did the post-game show. It was like 11:30 at night. She's like, "Dad, can we go through the pictures?" And I said, "Sure, honey. We'll we got a game. We got to be up and on campus early tomorrow morning for this football game, but we'll go through them real quick." So I put the memory card in and I started scrolling through them, and we went through probably 40, 50 pictures. And I stopped on a picture that had the score clock in the background. And 1 minute and 3 seconds had gone by of game time, and she had taken 50 pictures. And I looked, I exited out and looked. It was like 1,270 pictures that she took throughout the game. So she's all in. She's excited.
I say you print them all out and then you put them in a book, and then if you just flip them really quickly, it's just a little mini version of the game. It's like
it's a flip book.
Bearcats in 2 minutes. We could make it out of that. They'll never understand. You know what? They'll never understand what it was like to have a disposable camera or to only have a couple be really cautious about how many pictures. You only got 3 pictures left in your disposable camera. They'll never get it. They'll never have the value of the picture. They just snap away. So,
John, did you hear Polaroid came out and said you're not supposed to shake the Polaroid picture?
What?
Yeah,
well, that ruins the song.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that.
It ruined it damaged a piece of my childhood.
Yeah,
I know. I do like those Polaroid cameras that they have now, though. They're kind of cool, very nostalgic.
Before we do go, I did want to ask you something. The fans are getting restless about nip at night turning into nip at noon. I know this is out of your control. I mean, it's obviously television driven. But how is it purely just the network picks and you don't have any, or the league doesn't have any input, or how does that go? I know we're verging on like 2 or 3 seasons without a night game. So I know it doesn't. I hope it doesn't turn into nip at noon and we lose that element.
Yeah, I agree. What I'd like is to have a real nice mix, right? I mean, I think a couple noon games, a couple 3:30s, and a couple night games is exactly what you're looking for within 7 home games or 6 home games. It was funny. I was at Colorado and Rick George, their AD, was complaining because all they've had is night games, and that's driving their fan base crazy. So I think it's just how it fell. I think that in the future we'll be back getting some 3:30s and some night games. And so, part of it is just, how you're playing and what the matchups are and where TV thinks that you're going to be best positioned. But we get it. I get it. I'm hopeful that we get a night game or at least a 3:30 out of that last one. But, we'll do everything we can to try to convince the Big 12 to start giving us some of those things, but it really is mostly out of our control.
Do you look around at Utah and Arizona State and Arizona and go, see, it's hard. Going into a new league, it's hard. It's not easy.
It's amazing and I think I said it before the beginning of the season, maybe on your podcast. The Big 12 is it's the complete opposite every year. Whoever's supposed to be good in the Big 12 ends up at the bottom, and whoever's supposed to be at the bottom ends up at the top. It's just been that way. And it looks to sort of be outside of maybe, I guess Iowa State and Kansas State. Outside of that, you think about some of the teams that are up at the top, BYU and then Utah obviously was the team that everybody was talking about. And you're right. It is hard. This league is hard. It's a hard-nosed, large human being league. And I've heard Zach talk about that as well from a recruiting standpoint when we start trying to find big human beings up front on offensive, defensive line. And you got to have depth. That's the other thing. Utah got bit by the injury bug and haven't been able to recover. And we saw that last year with our team. You got to have depth in this league because it is such a smash mouth type of league. I think there's good football there, and they're going to be great for the league. And obviously, Colorado's a darn good football team. Watch out for them the rest of the year. Their athletes are unbelievable. But I think it just speaks to how difficult the Big 12 is, and every game is tough. Every single one, you got to be ready to play.
John, we appreciate it. We thank you for taking a little time out tonight, and let the boys get back to the piano lessons, tickling
That's
the ivories.
I'm gonna make them do it. All right. Well,
All
thank
right.
you guys.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it. Cincy
Well,
Light looks awesome. Great
we'll get
combination.
you one of these.
Oh man, I would love that. All right.
Chad will autograph it for you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean. Have a good night. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
I did get some info, Dave. If you
that?
go to cincylight.com/jersey, JERSEY, you can enter. You have to follow Cincy Light on Instagram at Cincy Light. You tag a friend in the comments, and you can two times your odds by signing up for the newsletter at cincylight.com/jersey. I am giving away one myself. So I'm going to do a video. I'm going to put it up on Twitter, but you can get an entry now. You are the first people, if you're listening to this, cincylight.com/jersey, JERSEY, and you can get registered to win a jersey today. You can't get registered to win that yet. Hopefully that's
just don't
with everybody's response. When everybody's response to this thing, they better put them on sale. People want these bad boys in their man cave.
Yeah.
Well, that was good. I mean, look, Dave, it's a bold move to do what they're doing with sales and marketing. Like, that has been the model in college sports forever, going through Learfield or IMG or ISP or whatever property it was. Like, that is how it's been done. It sucks because, like you said, like, I know a lot of those people. We've been around and talked to and worked with a lot of those people over the years. But I mean, in this landscape, if you can pull it off, it makes sense.
For sure. I think it's a bit like, I'm just curious to watch how it goes because, I mean, they did their homework. They didn't do this out of like knee-jerk. It's going to be a huge undertaking of, all of those relationships, I'm not going to say it's easy, but like a lot of your clients are repeat clients and, they continue to sponsor and they, as long as they feel like they're getting their money's worth. But, that's why I asked them about expanding because, it's one thing to go out on your own and do it and say that we can make more money, but you really need to expand on what you weren't able to do, or maybe if there were some limitations in using a Learfield or an IMG or whoever the case may be, like, to make the move, I feel like it would be more beneficial if you can truly expand on it, and it's not just like a 1-for-1 and we're doing essentially doing the same thing, but now we control it. Like, I feel like you've got to take it to the next level then.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, there's a lot of different stuff that maybe it didn't make sense to do when you had somebody in the middle, and now that it's all directly, inflow outflow, it makes sense to kind of.
I didn't want to ask. I'll ask you this, and because maybe I'm just having, when we're talking about the practice in the performance center, maybe I'm just like totally have a brain emptiness on this, but like, is something going on the like short field side?
No.
So that's just totally staying the way it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess I believe there is a giant water tank that
underneath it
that supplies water for the entire campus.
Okay.
So
I don't know if that had been said like years ago and I've just totally blanked on it, or Yeah,
I mean, I think there was a period in time. I don't think at first, when they first really started looking at that location, I don't think they realized like how much room there was from the end of the field, like to that walkway, like where the stands and the press box and that were. I don't think you think about how big that space is when it was stands and a press box.
Mm-hmm.
And then really you start looking at like the square footage of it and you're like, we don't need to put the performance center over where the half field is.
Yeah.
You can put the performance center right here where all this other stuff is, and then they still will get to use the half field, for that I know a lot of times, like the defensive linemen and the linebackers will go out there when the bubble is up and get some work in on the half field. So that is going to stay.
Put a mini bubble.
Just put like a canopy, like
I know,
like a-
South Alabama has, and that actually might be a good idea. It's like I noticed that South Alabama's indoor is open air, and they did when the Senior Bowl is down in Mobile. When they had some bad weather, they did like one of the practices in there. And obviously, it's a full, but like you might do that and like just have it open air, and that way it can be used.
When it's raining or
Mm-hmm.
Even if the weather is not ideal,
right?
You can go out there and get your practice in. That segment, that timestamp right there, is brought to you by our good friends at Turtles Brew. 6% ABV. Turtles Brew is gluten-free, sugar-free. I'm scrolling to find the read here because I was not ready for this. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, gluten-free, bourbon-infused sweet tea, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla, lemonade tea, strawberry mint. There's over 50 locations in greater Cincinnati, more than 100 in Ohio. Visit turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. You can get the plastic bottles. You can get the pouches, either a 5-pack or the individuals. They are outstanding. So they're also in Toledo, expanding now in Central Ohio. Turtlesbrew.com will get you taken care of. This segment now, this upcoming segment, is brought to you by Homefield Apparel. As you can see, Dave, costume change. Little costume change right there.
Just no wardrobe malfunctions.
No, I turned the camera off and did the costume change like that. Homefield is a premium collegiate apparel brand based in Indianapolis. They focus on creating incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. You don't get much more vintage than this one. This one is from 1954. They've got the dunking Bearcat and the angry Bearcat, and pretty much all of the Cincinnati logos through the years. T-shirts, sweatshirts, crew necks, hoodies, quarter zips, joggers, socks, hats, polos, jackets, light jackets, heavy jackets, you name it. They've got it at Homefield. They've also got the new pullovers, the old kind of like starter style with the Cincinnati with the old 1990s script, and the Bearcat, the dunking Bearcat on the arm. Great stuff. So go to homefieldapparel.com, enter the code BCJ24 and save 15% off your order. All right, Dave. I mean, this is rare for you. You did not get to talk about the Colorado game at all.
I didn't really get to see it either. So,
have at it. Give us your Cliff's Note version.
Yeah, I had it on in the car driving from Utah to Vegas for a 12:40 a.m. flight. So it was on, I was listening, I was glancing, but I wasn't really watching. I said the score was going to be 38-28, so
something like that. Yep,
was pretty close there. I mean, it kind of played out the way I thought. I mean, I think right now they are playing really, really well, especially on offense, especially in the pass game. And I just had a lot of reservation about slowing that down. And that was that came to fruition. I mean, Shedeur Sanders was very, very good, and so was Travis Hunter, and so were there other pieces, and Jimmy Horn Jr., which I totally forgot about in the preview last week because he basically hasn't played.
Yeah, he'd been hurt
for a while and was not in the stats of a top receiver, but he clearly is for them and is in general. And I just kind of said it, like, you're talking about, again, lot of time left, but you're talking about one of, or if not the front runner to be the first quarterback taken in the draft, and in my opinion, the best player in college football. And the other guys are not slouches. So this isn't like this is a bunch of nobodies that just happens to have two exceptional players. And, you know, offensively, we couldn't, you know, right out of the gate, you know, I missed the first drive and you go 3 and out, and you're just right behind the 8 ball right away. That it put them in a position that it felt like they were always chasing, and you know, it never felt, I mean, I don't know, did they, I know they didn't punt in the first half, like what
they punted a decent amount in the second.
Yeah. Right. But I mean, at that point, like you're chasing. So, and you know, we can talk about this as a bigger point in the fact that, like, and I meant to do this. I've been crazy busy this week at work catching up, but like our second half offense, outside of the Texas Tech game, I don't think has scored more than 10 points in almost 2 months.
Now, some of that has been the result of playing with the lead. They scored a bunch in the Texas Tech game, but
they scored 17 in the second half of the Texas Tech game.
Other than that, it has been a slog. It has not been, and again, you know, when you're playing with the lead and you're essentially, it's going to take a miracle like what happened against Pitt for everything to go wrong for you to potentially lose. It's understandable at least, but the problem there is, Dave, I think you kind of train yourself that, you know, you're not coming out ultra aggressive in the second half of games. And when you need to, like, it's a lot harder than people think to just turn it on and off, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, just right. It is harder. And protecting the lead is one thing, like in the fourth quarter or halfway through the fourth quarter. I just feel like, I mean, you're going nothing against Arizona State. I think 9 points against UCF, and those games, the Arizona State one was a 24-7 margin, but it is concerning to me that, I mean, I'm not saying drop Swordsby back 25 times just in the second half, but they do need to figure out a way over this bye week and for these last 4 games because they've been very good at the beginning. They've been good at the scripted stuff. It's the stuff that, you know, we can joke about halftime adjustments, but like they're not producing scoring drives in the second half at nearly a good enough rate because the defense is better. I'm not going to even go as far as to say good, but like they're certainly not good enough to just not be scoring 10 points in the second half of conference games.
Right.
So you still have to protect, like you still have to be I'm not even saying aggressive, but you still have to continue your game plan and take aggressive plays when they present themselves, because your defense is not like, it's not like you can just be like, oh, we're up 14, this game is over.
Right.
You know, they're not in that situation. And, you know, I came on the aftermath and talked about the run defense and you disagreed, and it was not the place for me or the time sitting in an airport lobby or airport terminal to like try to articulate it on a chat. My point was more so that like I had a pretty good idea of what they were going to do passing the ball.
Yeah.
And so the raw numbers don't like jump out to you, but when I dive into it, they were 7 for 13 on third down. One third down attempt is nullified because there was a pass interference. So it was converted, but it doesn't count. They really had 14 third down opportunities.
Yeah.
9 of those opportunities were 4 yards or less, and that they converted, or that they had were 4 yards or less. So it wasn't that they just like ran the ball up and down the field. It was that the running was effective enough to keep putting them in very, very manageable short yardage third down plays, which never really let UC get after a quarterback and an offensive line that is not good, like not good at pass protection.
Well, but Dave, I don't know what, I guess my point there is, I don't know what more you can expect from a run defense that is light in the box, because you've got to be cognizant of their passing game, because they clearly are a team that can throw it 3 yards and get 70. Like, you're not going to be, even if you know there's a pretty decent chance that they're going to run the ball, if they decide not to, and they catch you with, 7, 8 guys sneaking down in the box to stop their run game, you're dead. Like, they're gonna light you up with a quick throw that, they already proved many, many times in that game, one-on-one in space, their guys were better than our guys. Like,
right.
I just
Oh,
don't.
for
That's,
sure.
that's what I was getting at with that is, I don't know what else you could have expected better from the run defense, that really 4, maybe 5 guys that were in a position to like stop the run, and they didn't let them break out anything big. Most of their runs were 4 or 5 yards when they had success.
Yeah, I just look at their running game, and it's like I understand what you're saying, but like, they have running games this year where they're like 22 rushes for 16 carries.
They ran 40 times.
Right. Well,
because they had the lead.
Well, no, their running backs ran 32 times. I'm not counting quarterback. Their lead running back ran for, let me see, I got it right here, 8 more carries than any game this year and 38 more yards than any game this year.
Okay, well, the only way you're going to stop that if you're Cincinnati is not to be down by 14, 17 points.
Right. So I understand that, but you're not going to, like, you're not going to shut down their passing game regardless, I don't think. So
you would have
the only way you were going to get the ball back. No, that's not what I'm saying. But
they got the ball.
They're not a good running team. So whether you put 3 or 4 guys or 5 guys, they should have done better, is what I'm saying. They're not good at this. So it shouldn't matter how many guys you had in the box. They don't care about running, and they're not good at it. And let them,
but they did
running
what they
back rush for
normally
almost
did.
100 yards.
They did what they normally did. They ran for 3.1 yards a carry.
That's not what they didn't do what they normally do. They ran the ball twice as many times as any other game this year.
But they still ran for the same number of yards per carry. Like, their average is exactly who they are. They just did it twice as much.
Yeah, their running back, their lead running back ran for 4 yards a carry.
That's not great. You think 4 yard, like,
it's too right? It's not great, but against that, yeah, it has to. You weren't going to win the game letting them run the ball that many times.
But they got off the field is what I'm getting at. Like, in the second half.
When did they get off the field?
Colorado punted 1, 2, 3 times in the second half.
Yeah. Okay. It's the second half when they were up.
Okay, but they got stops while Colorado was trying to run the ball. And that's like they did, they accomplished what your run defense needed them to accomplish. They forced punts.
Okay.
I like the passing game was why Colorado was dominant and controlled Cincinnati. I don't think watching that game, I didn't feel it had anything to do with the running game. Like, if you want to say you thought they needed to be better, like, okay. I don't know. Like, it's not like Cincinnati had an input on how many times they ran the ball. All you can do is hold them to what they normally rush the ball for, which is it was 2.8 on the season. They ran for 3.1 per on the game.
Yeah, it's not the way I view it. They didn't run for 3.
They only had 1 sack. So it wasn't like there was
the running back ran for
of sack yardage factored into that. They had 1 sack for 10 yards. So, like, that was a true number on 3.1 yards a carry.
Yeah, they
That's
didn't
all.
get any sacks because they were always in third and short because they were successful in getting the number of how many of all those times they ran the ball, how many rushes did we stop at the line or behind the line of scrimmage?
Quite a few. A large number. I mean, I can go through.
How many?
But,
I mean, I haven't had a chance to look, but how many TFLs did we have?
They didn't. They stopped a lot at the line. They didn't have a lot of behind.
I mean, I went through the drive chart. All I saw was 4 yards, 4 yards, 3rd and 2 rushing, 3 yards, 3 yards, 3rd and 4 completed pass, 7 yards, on a rush. Yeah, they didn't break any long ones, but they didn't need to because everything was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and then Shedeur, the whole playbook is open to them.
But David, they were getting 10, 12, 15 yards a catch, and they weren't they didn't really have a ton of they weren't going over the top. If it was 3rd and 7, I don't think it would have mattered against that defense. They were going to get 7 yards.
You should have just dropped 8 every time and dared them to run the ball.
They did. That's why they ran the ball 40 times.
But wait a second. You can't say they dropped 8 and then the guy still went 25 for 29. I
can say it because it happened.
Okay. I guess I missed the you got 3 guys in route and 8 guys in coverage, and they still are completing 85% of their passes.
Yes. That's what happened.
Well,
and a lot of it, he was not throwing the ball downfield. They were hitting side to side, short, quick, fast completions that put their guy one-on-one in space, on the edge of the defense. They didn't really go over the middle a whole lot. Shedeur wasn't throwing downfield almost at all. They just hit quick stuff that, if you go back and watch, there's a lot of DBs that looked bad in space trying to make tackles. A lot of them.
Yeah.
So
I will not be going back and watching.
I don't know in that particular game if 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 4 really mattered that much because Colorado was getting whatever they wanted in the passing game, where if they had to throw it 40 times, he would have went 32 for 40.
Yeah. That's just what if you're gonna get cut up by a really good passing game, you can't also be in that many 3rd and shorts.
I in theory, yes, I agree. But for the most part, they were dropping 7 and 8 guys throughout the game. They were not bringing very much pressure at all. And Colorado still did whatever they wanted passing the football.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the answer is in that, what's the, if you're dropping 8 and they're still throwing it all over
I think at that point, if I'm dropping 8 and we're not, I'm John Tenuta and taking my chances. Because what's you either give up a three play drive or you give up an 8 play. What's the point? Is there really a difference? You're just hurting yourself with the amount of time you have the ball. Then, so
probably the only difference is it would have been 44 to 23 instead of 34.
Yeah. So but maybe you get to him, maybe you force a fumble. I'm speaking on this without really truly watching. It just felt like every time I looked down, their running back was getting pushed for 4, 5, 6, 7, 13 yards, and it's if that's what we're giving up, we got no shot because they're not even trying. They're oh, these are fun yards. We're not even trying to get these yards.
Well, that was the other thing is they had mastered, for whatever reason on that game, the push. Cincinnati would stop the guy for 2 yards and he would get 7.
Yeah.
Because they just would pile up behind him, and the refs were not quick on the old forward progress whistle.
Which is fine. Give them credit for continuing to fight, but that was my whole thing. Is it just felt like every time I saw it, I'm oh, we're he's just they're getting decent yardage where it's well, they can kind of just run whatever damn play they want now. You had the 1 3rd and 13 that ends up being the Jimmy Horn touchdown called back play. It's we never got him into any sort of, I think there were a couple 3rd and 8 maybe
Yeah.
1/3 9, picked those up.
Oh, they were ahead of the sticks all night.
They were 7
For
for
sure.
10 until the end when they, were, I don't know exactly what they were doing at the end. It was almost like they were like, here, can we just run the most basic plays possible and
They're
run
just
the
trying to
clock out?
get the hell out of town.
Yeah. And they finished 0 for 3 on their last 3 third downs. But yeah, I mean, it's, frustrated that they lost. But, I mean, I said they were going to lose by 10. They lose by 11. And I think the world of those two guys for them, and you just had better dudes. Like, there were points in that game, you guys talked about it Monday. Like, I understand you want to get it to your guys, but like, you probably don't need to throw it at Travis Hunter like 6 or 7 times. I mean, after the first 3 or 4 times that he had PBUs against whoever he was covering, like, let's work a different angle on that. But they're just, I mean, they're playing, like, that's the thing I talked about last Wednesday when we had our show, is like, last year and the way they were covered has like distorted how good they are playing right now. Like, people are like, the common fan is just like, oh, screw Colorado, Dion's annoying, like, he's got his Gucci. Like, they're playing very, very well right now.
Yeah.
I mean, so, and anybody that hasn't really watched him that much saw it Saturday night how good Travis Hunter is just
incredible.
He's ridiculous. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And UC is not the first team that couldn't do anything with him, and they're certainly not going to be the last. And it's going to be a top 5 draft pick. So
he's really good.
He's really, really good.
And Shadur is really good. Like,
Shadur, yeah. He's
getting to like actually watch like a full game, because generally when I've watched them, they're on, but I'm not like dialed in on snap after snap after snap. Like, he is just an outstanding quarterback, not a college quarterback. Like, he is an outstanding quarterback. Knows how to play from the pocket, knows how to play outside the pocket, can get it out quick, can hang in there and make a throw when guys are kind of barreling down on him. Like, he is an excellent quarterback.
Yeah. So,
and their defense is better than they were.
Their defense is much better. I mean, they were going into this game, they were top 20 in the country in havoc rate. Like, they made a concerted effort to go get some defensive linemen, and they did that. And, you have some other guys in the back end to go along with Travis Hunter that are not just, I mean, they're legitimate guys. Like, they're not just like
the Hodge kid was. The Hodge kid had
Preston
maybe the
Hodge,
game of his life. Preston Hodge, he was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was part of. I don't think they wanted to throw at Travis Hunter. I think it was just literally everybody was covered, and Sorsby just had to pick somebody to throw it at. Now he threw it at Travis Hunter too many times, clearly. But I don't think it would have been any different if they would have tried to pick on Hodge and the thing was, like, they rotated through. You saw Hunter on Henderson, you saw him on Mays, you saw him on Royer. Like, he was a little bit of everywhere. So they didn't just put him on an island and say, we're taking this away. It was more strategic of like, okay, you want to go to Royer? Fine. We'll put Travis Hunter on Joe Royer, and he's going to get pass breakups.
Well, I think that's smart. I mean, we did it differently with Sauce of just saying, like, we're just going to take away this side, side of the field. But I wonder if maybe that was also an easier decision because of who we were playing.
Sure.
Like, I mean, how many receivers outside of Rashee Rice?
UCF had a couple over the years.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the Big 12 is different, and like, there are multiple guys. I mean, UC is a prime example. Like, if you just said, okay, Travis Hunter, you're going to stay over here. We're on this side of the field, and whoever comes over here, we know they're not going to throw at your side. Well, then UC is like, okay, well, we'll just put all of our receivers on the other side of the field. which because we
Right.
saw that happen. Like, how many times was Sauce standing over there with nobody, nobody's even over there?
Indiana put a second string tight end out there at one point, like
Yeah.
for most of that
I
game.
mean, he got the sack against Houston in the championship game because like Clayton Tune didn't even bother looking over there because he's like, he's just going to stand over there and twiddle his thumbs because.
Right.
So, you move him around and then it's a lot harder to identify in the coverages, and it's easy to identify stuff when the one guy just stays in the same spot all the time.
For sure.
So, I mean, I think that my biggest thing is not about this game because, I mean, it kind of played out the way I thought. My biggest thing is these last 4 games, we've talked so much about bowl and 6-6, and I don't want to, like, change expectations. I mean, I don't want to say that either because you play a certain way, expectations do change. Just because you said one thing in August and early September, we're now into November. Like, do I want to win 6 games and get to a bowl game? Yes. Did we say that was the goal? Yes. But at the same time, I'm like, if that is it, if they only get one more win and it's you lost 4 out of your last 5, I feel like that would kind of not leave a bad taste, but it would just be like, man, things were going good. You were 5-2, and then you finished 6-6.
Right. It would be tough, but we knew that was like we said a million times. They have to start fast because the back end of the schedule,
right.
Like if they don't start fast, it could go bad quick. They started fast.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to end up outside of Houston, and depending on what happens to UCF, they're probably going to end up playing, 7 out of their 9 Big 12 games. Teams will finish in roughly the top half, maybe top 10 in the conference.
Yeah.
So outside of Houston, they're getting none of
Utah and Kansas.
They're getting none of the other, Arizona, Utah, Kansas, Oklahoma State. Like, they're getting none of the other teams that are not having good seasons.
Yeah. And all those teams were expected to have very good seasons.
Yeah.
To where we said, like, it's an easy schedule because they miss all of the teams at the top, and they're going to end up missing all the teams at the bottom and playing almost all the teams at the top except BYU.
Yeah. My big thing is, what can we do? Again, it's hard to just if I said, hey, I want you or Keegan to ask Sat next week, like, what do you do to do better in the second half? I know that's like a hard question to ask / to answer. But there does need to be some figuring out of like, what are we doing differently? Obviously, you're scripting the first 10, 15 plays. I don't know what they do.
But that doesn't account for they're good in the first half every week.
So, like, what are we doing? I mean, because I can't imagine they're like, well, we're going to do this in the first half, and then we're going to do this totally different thing in the second half.
Right.
And we're 3 games into doing this totally different thing, and it's not working, but we're going to keep doing it. Like, I'm going to assume that that's not what's happening. I mean, if it is, then there's much bigger problems. But like, what do you do? What are you guys looking at? What in this bye week? What are you going back and looking at the second halves of games and seeing how are we starting drives? What are our calls on third down in the second half of games compared to our calls on third down in the first half of games? Because it's a drastic difference. I mean, Texas Tech, 17 points. No other game, I don't think, in Big 12 play outside. I didn't look at Houston just because it was a blowout. No other game more than 10 points in the second half. And then you have
they need to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because West Virginia's been terrible on defense. We'll get into this next week, but they can put up points.
They're terrible against the pass, so maybe the weather will be nice and we can light them up. They're pretty good against the run. But until that game, and we will, that game will still just be like, you got to show me you can stop Garrett Green before, because that game was a disaster last year.
Unmitigated disaster. Let's see. What's the early?
Assuming he plays. I don't know. He did not play this past week. Maybe he'll be back. They did win at Arizona, who is a lot worse than I thought. They really did turn into a 2-man team.
Their offensive line is
it's real bad.
Oof. The forecast right now for the West Virginia game is 63, high of 63, a shower or two around the area in the morning, then partly cloudy, 30% chance of rain.
Yeah, so maybe we can throw it a bunch.
Probably pretty good football weather.
Yeah. I got a little, when John says maybe we can get a night game for the last one, I'm like, no, that's not the one we want the night game.
Right. Nobody wants late December Thanksgiving night game.
I mean, it would be good because TCU, they want to throw the ball game, and if the weather's crappy, then that helps. But like, I don't want that. I'm a fan. This is about me.
The Cincy Light sign is awesome. You're right, Jacob. It is. I agree. Maybe we'll work on trying to figure out a way for you guys to get your hands on this. John was all in. John thought we should sell them.
I think we should talk to Cincy Light and be like, they donate money to Bearcat Journal. Whoever donates the most money to one of our live streams gets the sign. Well, a sign-a-thon.
A sign-a-thon, yeah. Do a couple hours, and whoever the highest bidder.
Yeah.
And then we get to keep all of the money.
That's right. We'll give some to the collective.
Yeah. We'll donate some back.
We're charitable, gentlemen.
I mean, that would end up being like an auction, but the difference is in an auction, the only person that pays is the highest bidder.
Right.
Where for this one, every bid goes into the pot.
That's right.
You got anything else on the Colorado game?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I didn't watch it, so I probably shouldn't have talked that much about it to begin with without even watching it. But
yeah. Let's go ahead and timestamp here, and we'll figure out where we're going to go from here. Brought to you, of course, by our good friends at Turtles Brew. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free, 6% ABV. It's a bourbon-infused sweet tea. It's dual threat. It's one of those drinks that you can have by the pool in the summer, and it's refreshing. Or it's one of those drinks you can have by the fire on a cold October evening, a chilly October evening, and it'll warm you up a little bit. It is versatile, and that's your drinks should be versatile. They come in lemonade tea, strawberry mint, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. There's over 50 locations in Greater Cincinnati, 100 throughout the state of Ohio. Visit turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. And you know what it also goes great with, Dave?
Yeah.
Cincy Light.
Yes.
You just trade them off. You double fist. You got the pouch. Maybe you get like a lanyard. You're wearing the pouch around your necklace. You got a Cincy Light in hand, getting your pregame on as the Bearcats get ready to take on West Virginia on November 9th. Basketball. Anything you want to get to on basketball? I did get to check out some practice today. I think the people will be happy to hear who I was really impressed with today.
Who's that?
Arrington Page.
There we go. All right.
I thought he had I haven't been at every practice, so I'm not going to say he had his best practice as a Bearcat. I will say he had his best practice that I've seen. Had a really good backdoor cut to the rim for a layup. Caught a couple lob passes, 2 really, really nice assists. Did a nice little reverse spin move on the other side of the rim to beat Aziz for a layup. Played good defense, blocked a shot, got his hands, got a couple deflections. So I was really impressed with Arrington Page today. Tyler Betsy, it just almost looks automatic when the ball comes out of his hands.
Yeah.
He has such a repeatable, smooth, crisp 3-point shot. No Day Thomas, still working him back. It was good to see Tyler McKinley is out of the full leg apparatus as he gets started in his rehab. I was glad to see he was in the team picture. Looking normal, not looking like somebody that just had surgery on their knee. So practice is good today, Dave. We are 4 days away from the start of the basketball season. We're going to do a full basketball season preview on Sunday night on the BBP, since the basketball game is Monday. But what are your expectations, David? What do you like? Where's your excitement level for this team?
Well, let's see. I mean, I'm pretty excited. I like the pieces that they have. I'm excited to see how Dylan Mitchell fits in, with some of the other guys that they have. Hopefully Day Day's thing is not too serious, because that definitely concerns me.
So here's my take on that. I don't think it's anything super serious. I do think you have to make sure that you handle this in a way that it doesn't, you have to do your best to make sure this isn't something that lingers, like, throughout the season. So
right, like he's okay for a couple games, and then he's out a week or two, and then he's all right for a week, but then he's out,
So I think that's the biggest, I think if they wanted to push him, it wouldn't be, he could probably be ready for Monday. He could probably be practicing right now, but I think you're still in that window of, does this really make sense at this juncture to rush him back, to get him back for the first game of the season, or, somewhere in that proximity. And maybe he does play Monday. I don't know. Maybe by Friday or Saturday, they're ready to go with him, and he's back and he plays in the game. But I think the ultimate thing that you're trying to accomplish is not just bringing him back at 90%, and that 90% leads to a situation where you're just, is he in, is he out, is he going to play tonight, is it sore? I just don't think you want that at all.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna assume they lose to Xavier until they beat them. Is that fair?
No.
It's not fair?
No.
Well, that's what I'm doing. And then the Big 12 is just how do you even handicap it? I mean, you think you're good, but yeah, it's great. So is 10 other teams. So it's very difficult to just do the scheduled game and go, oh yeah, win, loss, win.
Right.
Okay, sure. Tell me
ultimately
points all the road games, regardless of how good we feel about UC, and I think we should feel good. Point to all the road games you think are just automatic W's right now. Can you say any of them?
I don't think so.
I mean, not where I would just be that's an automatic W in October, it's a W in January, it's a W in the first week of March.
I think Colorado, potentially Arizona State.
UCF crushed Kansas at home last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, potential. Yeah. Put a potential in front of all of those things. Because, potentially, sure. But, I don't know. I'm gonna say 11-7, or not 11-7, 13-7, 13-7, 12-8, something like that in conference. I mean,
I'm going to be honest, Dave. I'm guessing 14-6 wins the league.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Who's 20 teams, guys? Or 20 games.
20 games, 16 teams.
5 top 10 teams. A couple others in the top. Saying 12-8. I'm sure there's fans that are going to be like, "Oh my god, that would be awful." I'm
no, it'd be like a 5 seed.
I'd be like, yeah, if they go 12-8, they win. That means they're winning some games on the road, probably against tournament caliber teams.
Yeah.
It's just impossible to look at and go, yeah. I mean, they're going to go. Anything better than that? It's hard. It's hard to.
Even if you look at last year, really because of the injuries, Kansas was never truly an elite team last year. I don't think they just never had a chance to find that groove where they really got rolling. So what? Houston and Iowa State were the elite teams in the conference, or the higher end, consistent, they won far more often than not type teams. You're going to have 5 top 10 level teams. Now, one of them will probably deal with something and end up, being middle of the pack or whatever.
Right.
You'll have somebody that you don't expect jump up and compete for that top 5, top 6 position. But those teams are all going to play each other multiple times. Nobody is getting out of that with 3 or 4 losses, I don't think. I can't fathom we get to the first weekend in March and somebody's 16-4. I just don't see it.
Seems totally unreasonable to expect that.
Yeah. And normally that would be what you would expect to win. Somebody's really good. They're one of the best teams in the country and they win 75-80% of their games. But in this league, I just don't. Maybe somebody will surprise me. Maybe Houston just continues to be a monster. I have to see how they do this without Jamal Shed, with as many times as he has saved them over the past 2 seasons on nights that they were off and he just took over. I don't know. 12. I think 12-8. Happy as a pig and shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who do you have as a leading scorer
for the Bearcats?
Yeah,
CMOS.
Yeah, that's what I have too. I think he'll be the most consistent. Even if there's not many nights where he is the leading scorer in the game, I think he's going to be in that 14-15 range most every night. Yeah. So maybe 13-14 range because they'll spread it around.
Matt asks, how many wins against Nova X, Georgia Tech, and Dayton?
3. They'll drop 1, I would guess.
I'm going to say 2.
I mean, X is the only home game there.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to beat X because they just don't beat X. So
you got 9-2 out of conference.
One of those other road/neutrals.
Okay.
I mean, Nova still has the dude that can Eric that can get.
Yeah, but they don't have a whole lot else.
30-something to get 30-something against anybody.
Yeah, they don't have a whole lot else.
No, I don't know. I haven't. I'm certainly not in my
basketball mode.
I read the Athletics top 25. I mean, I love it, but I don't they had Tennessee at 10. I don't see it. I think that's too high for them right now.
I mean, I guess that's probably just counting on Rick Barnes will rack up regular season wins with their style of play.
Well, yeah, won't do anything in the tournament, but
I didn't say he would. I said regular season.
But yeah, I mean, I have no idea what Nova has right now. Is Monday the official first day of games?
Yeah.
Are there any good ones? Are they?
Not really.
I never understood that. You have the 2 games in Chicago, right? That are on Tuesday or Wednesday. It's always Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, and Michigan State.
The Champions Classic.
Yeah, I don't understand why college basketball doesn't make a bigger spectacle of opening weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I guess part of it is probably you're opening your season on a Monday against Monday Night Football. So you're not going to win no matter.
But do the old thing they used to do on ESPN where it was like the 24-hour of games or whatever. Like have good games at like noon and 2 and 4 and whatever. Like,
yeah.
Who cares if you're going up against Monday Night Football? Have you watched any of those games lately? They're garbage.
I don't disagree.
So, but
anything else you want to talk about?
We got to do the 6-pack, man.
All right. The 6-pack. Guess who's going to bring you the 6-pack, Dave?
Cincy Light.
Hold on.
I hope.
Wardrobe change. The 6-pack brought to you by Cincy Light. Check your local place that you buy beverages. And if they don't have it, tell them to get it. Go ahead.
All right. We're starting noon. Ohio State at Penn State. This is an interesting one because Ohio State fans don't think Ryan Day can win big games, and Penn State fans know James Franklin can't. Penn State's quarterback, Drew Aller, we'll see if he plays. I did see a wild stat today that Ohio State is like one of the worst teams in the country running the ball on short yardage, which is just, how is that possible with those two running backs and what you should have at the offensive line? It looks like they might be on their third left tackle. And if that's the case, that could be big trouble because Penn State has two really good defensive ends. So
listening to Ohio State fans, their second left tackle was not good.
Well, he's out. So then we're going to go 3:30 ABC, the world's largest cocktail party, which I guess you're not allowed to call it that anymore. It's Florida, Georgia from Jacksonville. I'm not sure how good of a game it's going to be. I think Florida is playing better. I don't know if they're in like save the coach's job range yet, but we'll see how this game goes. There's always something fun that happens, whether it's Georgia players running on the field and dancing or you know, whatever. But it's a nice rivalry, fun game. 7:30 ESPN, Louisville at Clemson. I just want to see, like, Clemson, I think, is underrated right now. I think they're 11th. I think that opening loss to Georgia is really pulling them down in this thought process. Like, I think they're playing much better than that. Louisville got a win last week against BC, wasn't pretty, had not really been playing very good. So what does Clemson do at home here? Do they kind of, you know, you're starting to get in this situation of where we've got these huge conferences now and there's no divisions, and we're just, you know, we're going to run a very slippery slope of who is getting into these conference championship games. Now SMU and Pitt do play each other this week. And that is on my list. So that will knock out one of the undefeateds. But you're still possibly looking at 3 undefeateds in the ACC, and good luck figuring that all out. 7:45 SEC Network, Kentucky at Tennessee. We better beat the brakes off of them because they are not good. And if the Vols fancy themselves to be good, they need to win this game.
Auburn beat the brakes off of them.
Yeah. Pitt at SMU, I just mentioned, 8 o'clock, ACC Network. Just 2 probably surprise 8-0 teams. Looks like Eli Holstein and Kevin Jennings will play quarterback for each team. I think both were dealing with some level of injury. So, you know, 2 8-0s fighting for the conference championship position. It's not really like a great slate of games. Ohio State, Penn State's the clear kind of like big game of the week. So, and then finish. There's also no late game this week, which is sad. 8 o'clock. TCU at Baylor. ESPN2. TCU had a big comeback win last week. Baylor's playing much better than they were at the beginning of the season. Again, not sure if they're in save Dave Miranda's job mode, but I think the loser, I know if TCU loses, they drop to 5-4, and still have they have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way, but just a good Big 12 game. Check out. I think it's like I said, I don't think there's anything even later than that this week. So I don't know if there's like baseball or some potentially a World Series game, and that's why there's nothing on Fox or why there isn't any late ESPN game. So it's a little I'm not gonna say a weak slate, but there's really not a ton of like super must watch, sit down, watch this game stuff.
All right. I don't have anything else. Do you? We're going to keep it short and sweet on the bye week.
Yeah.
Look, the next month, like, you're going to get really sick of seeing us between the regularly scheduled shows and the aftermaths for post game, for basketball and football. We're going to be here a lot. So we're going to give you a little break tonight, I think. That's going to wrap it up. Welcome, big BCJ welcome to our new friends at Cincy Light. Again, if you want this, all you got to do, go to cincylight.com/jersey, JERSEY, and they will, it'll tell you what to do. You just have to follow Cincy Light on Instagram, tag a friend in the comments, and you can 2 times your odds by signing up for the newsletter on cincylight.com/jersey. Thanks to the Holy Grail. Thanks to John Cunningham. Thanks to Homefield. Thanks to Turtles Brew. We will see you next week as we get ready for the Bearcats taking on West Virginia and wrapping up the opening night of the basketball season. This is the BCJ Podcast, live from the Cincy Light Studios, right here on BearcatJournal.com.